So Connor Musarra, what's going on, man?
Chilling, man. How are you?
Good. Oh, I appreciate you coming over to the show today. So excited to talk to you, and got so many things I want to ask you. Great music, great artistry.
Thank you. Thank you.
Like just off the cuff, like unique, original, your flow, your style. Like, where does this all come from? Where did it start for you? It's like, what was the music that inspired you growing up?
I mean, I come from a musical family for sure. So just a lot of different influences happening, and a lot of, like, of course, like early 2000s, there's a lot of rock going on, and my family was all like playing rock music for me all the time. But when I was in probably third or fourth grade, I started to get just completely obsessed with hip hop music and listening to like Ludacris and Missy Elliott and Eminem and DMX and everybody, and then taking my influences from being a musician, like playing instruments. Like I've been a drummer since I was literally a baby, and I started playing. I would mess with guitars and stuff when I was a kid, and I started playing cello in school, and then it gradually, I don't know, it just evolved into. When I was like 10, I started making beats, and I started actually like recording myself when I was in middle school and making beats and then rapping on top of them. And then like it just evolved. And then in high school, I was putting out mixtapes and albums and touring and DJing and stuff, even like when I was in high school. And it just like snowballed. And then it eventually, I mean, this is the the short version, but I went to Berklee College of Music in Boston, and I went there for drums, or like you have a principal instrument and then you have your major. My principal instrument was drums, but I went there for production. Anyway, and then it all just like, it's just been like literally since I was a child, this cumulative thing. I've just been obsessed with making music since I was a child. So,
man, that's a trip, man. That's no, I could tell you always had the music with you. I mean, did you have it like me where, I know in school, I couldn't hear the teacher. All I heard was music. Did you have the same problem?
I mean, I was very, very inconsistent in school. Just like, cause I was just preoccupied. Like I didn't care about school itself really, but I don't know, it was just ups and downs where I was definitely like, I would randomly have classes where I do like incredibly well, and then classes where I just like don't care at all and don't do anything. It was just I don't know, that was just my life, is just, I don't know, just following the feeling and letting it. I don't know. I was never really like super excited about school, to be honest. But that, I mean, that's like the artist's life.
Yeah.
But definitely always like I would be like writing lyrics and like doing whatever I can like in class and for sure.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
So you well, I know you said you did the cello and then drums. Like what? Who inspired you on the drums?
So my dad was a drummer, or dad still is a drummer. He's been a drummer for like 50 years. I come from a family of drummers actually. So my dad, my older brother, my dad's brother was the original drummer in Nine Inch Nails. I mean, he was out of the band before I was even born, but it's still like it's in the family. So we like in the basement in our house. I'm from Cleveland originally. In our basement, we had like a drum room that was like, nice. We just had drums set up at all times, and I just I would just go down there and mess around, and I would put music on in the headphones and just play along until I learned how to play. It was all self-taught, and that's really how it's been. That was what was interesting too, is I've been self-taught entirely my entire life until I went to Berklee.
Then they trained you.
Where they kicked my ass, and then so it was like it was a very it was like a musical culture shock, I guess, like because the way that I had experienced music was a totally different. It was just me fucking around, and then I have the exact opposite of that at Berklee, where it's just like, nah, you're gonna learn this shit for real. But that's why I wanted to go there, though, is so that I would, because there's no way that I would on my own get to that level of experience and understanding just by like messing around, like almost being like forced to pull all the way through all of this this crazy, all the music theory and ear training and all of that was super valuable for me, because it pushed me beyond where I was comfortable, way beyond my comfort zone.
Man, that sounds like a great challenge and a unique situation to be in. I mean, they've really pushed. I mean, give me an example of like you had to do X amount of productions within a month, or your thesis was like. I mean, it sounds like fun and challenging at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's a conservatory, so your entire curriculum is different aspects of music, and you have 10 classes per semester, and it's all like, well, and you have your liberal arts classes on top of that. So it's you're going through, you have the classes on your instrument, which is, so I was on drums.
Yeah.
So like I mean, I could ramble about this forever, but it's like, so I'm in private lessons with that. You're in a what would they call, a lab with that, which is just a class of just other drummers. Then you have like an ensemble, which is basically like a band. That's a class. And then you have your like core music, which is a set of classes, which is like the actual music theory stuff. The class was called harmony. So like written notation and all of that. And then ear training, which is having to sing solfege, do, re, mi, fa, so, like, and then conducting, and then you're, like, it's literally
the whole thing,
the entire thing. You are, ooh. And they don't care. Like, even if you go there being like, oh, I'm trying to be like a music business major. Yeah. They're like, no, you're going through the entire program on your instrument, and you're going through the entire program of our like core music, like the ear training and music theory and everything. Like they don't care. Like you're going through the entire program no matter what.
Wow.
So it's really it was very, very different for me, very difficult, but it was great.
Yeah, no, it seems like I mean the equivalent of being like an athlete and you got recruited and you worked out in high school, but you went there.
Yes. And exactly,
like overtime, just like,
oh yeah,
you're going to learn all these aspects and you're going to do it well.
Yeah, and also being self-taught, and also being a drummer, I was way like it was way above my head. Like I was not prepared at all, because I didn't have any traditional music theory experience. I had messed around on and I played cello, but I was still just self-taught. Like I didn't actually pay attention when they were teaching me how to play cello. I just did it by ear. And like I would mess around with piano and I'd mess around with guitar, but this was like, okay, I need to learn piano or I'm literally going to fail. Like I have to learn how to, like there's no way that I can understand. Like I had to learn piano just so that I could even like understand what was happening. Yeah. Because prior to that, I was just like fucking around and like making beats and stuff. Yeah.
Theory, everything's based around, from my, piano. That's the center of all the theory.
Yeah.
I mean, they want you to learn that, and then from there you kind of go to the other instruments, but piano's like that's the main thing.
Yeah.
So man, I bet you that was a challenge. But I look at your videos, I see you play. It looked like you've been playing piano and keyboards for a long time, so they worked you out.
It's funny because they didn't teach me how to play piano. It was just I just had to learn so that I could survive. Yeah. And I actually didn't really start playing.
Hey, this is Jeff. I'd like to take a second and tell you about this channel.
I really encourage you to hit the subscribe button. This really helps out the channel, helps it grow. And also, if you can like and put your comments for this video, that'd so much be appreciated. This really helps me to continue to book amazing artists that hopefully inspire you and continue to grow this channel. Thank you.
And I still like I basically like never practice any instruments. Like the times when like if you see me on camera, that's me practicing. Like I'm not even like I just like press record and then play and that's it. But I didn't start playing piano or guitar for real until
college.
Not even like I don't know, a couple years after college even. I would say probably like 5-6 years ago I started. Yeah.
Wow, that's so cool. You know, it was always my dream to go to a school like Berklee, and you know, buddy of mine, we played in high school bands, and so when it came time to go to college, I was like, dude, let's go to Berklee, man. Just focus on the music.
Yeah.
And we ended up going to a different school, but I always look back on that and I say, man, I should have gone to Berklee because it just to dive in deep like that. Because the school I went to was George Mason, which is a great school, but it was also you know, the programs they had for guitar was like classical guitar.
Yeah.
They didn't really have jazz, and so I discovered one of the assignments was to see one of the graduate students perform. You know, a classical guitar recital is like his final show. And he got up there and he said, you know, when I first came to school, I was really more of a rock guy. And now, you know, after 4 years of classical, you know, it was really tough, but I'm happy I did it. And I thought there, I said, 4 years of classical. I love classical, but 4 years.
No, that's brutal.
I just said, you know.
Yeah.
So I think that's really cool that you did that because, I mean, it really allowed you to dive in deep. And like, what about styles? Did they say, hey, you better learn jazz, rock, pop, or what about those?
Well, so Berklee is what actually separates it. It's the only music conservatory that like actually even like acknowledges the existence of like current music at all.
Yeah.
And it's actually not. You do have to do classical while you're there, but it's not for the school is not a classical. You're not learning classical there.
Yeah.
It's jazz. So it's all Berklee theory is all jazz theory. So that's like the way that the means by which they teach you music theory and ear training and everything is through jazz basically. And everything else is included, like they of course like are they're encouraging you to explore other things. There's specific classes that involve other genres, and there's ensembles that are different genre. That's like you join an ensemble and you're playing. There's an R&B one. There's a rock one. There's a hip hop one. There's everything. But it's all, I guess, through the lens of jazz, like the way that they teach. Yeah.
Man, that's just so. I could go on all day. I won't, but I just find that like, I definitely think that would be a big challenge, but a cool challenge. You know, like
yeah,
that sounds like a lot to take in and understand and learn, but at the same time, it's like, man, you know, that's so cool. So where did you go from there? Did you start after Berklee start playing out shows or?
Yeah, I mean, so I was already playing shows in high school, and then it was just a continuation. When I was at Berklee, I was DJing a bunch of like house parties and performing at like people's houses and shit, and and playing shows and stuff. And while I was there, I started a really small little record label with one of my friends there, and we just started releasing our own music and our friends' music, and we would throw shows and whatever. It was just college kids with no money, but like we had our own little DIY record label thing, and that was the beginning of that was my introduction into like that was like the training wheels version of like, okay, what is the music industry actually? Like, what's happening here?
Yeah.
And it was still like, it was just college kids being stupid in a dorm room or whatever, but it was us trying to understand how the industry works and how we can be a part of it. And anyway, yeah, it was just collaborating with people, producing for other people, and anyway, it eventually led to me moving. So me and Luke, my former business partner, Luke Spry, he works at Universal Music Group now. Our work that we did in college ended up snowballing into us. There was this songwriter that we were friends with who was from here, from LA, and he had a publishing deal. And the idea of a songwriter with a publishing deal, that sounded like the biggest thing in the world to us. We're like, what? Like, somebody's paying you to. So we were just ready to just on a dime, just be like, oh, like, yeah, whatever. Like, we'll be your in-house producers. And the dude, that songwriter was like, because we were originally planning on moving to New York, and that would have been cool too. I love New York, but that dude was like, nah, like, come to LA, just be in my studio every day. So we just on a whim like moved to LA with no money and no like anything, and and it was just an immediate, like it was me being dropped into like pop songwriting sessions.
Yeah.
So I was basically just like an in-house producer for this pop songwriter dude. So I was just whoever was coming in, I had to produce for and figure out that day on the spot.
On the spot training, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and that was definitely super, super valuable, just because that's one thing that I love about the scene in LA of like songwriters and producers and doing songs for pitch and working with artists is the energy in the room of like, we got to make something right now. Like if you're not making something, get the fuck out. Like,
can't waste a session.
Yeah, exactly, right? Exactly. And I mean, it's a double-edged sword. Like, it also leads to like most of that music doesn't even ever come out just because of the way the industry works, and it's whatever. I can't do that grind anymore, but it was really important for me to do that in the beginning and just have to, like, okay, there's 3 songwriters sitting behind me, staring at me in front of my laptop, waiting for me to make a track for them right now.
Yeah.
So like, you gotta figure it out. Like, so that was super valuable for me, and it was really fun. And it was the beginning of, I don't know, I feel like, so I've been an artist this whole time. Like, I was releasing music when I was in middle school. Like, I've been an artist this whole time. But when I got to LA, there was an intentional choice to be like, I'm not an artist right now. It's not that I'm not an artist, but like, that's on hold. Let me figure out how to like make a living as a producer, writer person.
Right.
And like, I'll get to the artist stuff later. And now looking back, I think that was really stupid. I should have just been like putting music out the whole time. But
what do you say?
Just because any of the opportunities that I got while trying to be this just like session producer, songwriter guy, I got 10 times the quality and amount of opportunities by just releasing a bunch of music myself. So, because once again, like, just that game of you're and I'm not knocking anybody who does this, but it's a grind. Like, I commiserate with people because you're in these sessions with songwriters, whether they're signed or unsigned or whatever, you are all competing you're all trying to pitch to these big artists on the labels and whatever. And it's every songwriter in the whole industry, including the ones who have number ones on the radio right now.
Yeah.
You're up against them. And that's not to say that the competition is good. That's what makes you better. But just that most of the music you make in those scenarios is just going to sit on a hard drive. And especially if you're working with a bunch of other writers who are all on different publishers and all of everything. And like, then because they have ownership, then their publishers now have ownership of the song. You can't just put the song out.
Can't put it out.
So it's this like catch-22 of like, either you like kind of win the lottery and you end up with, you know, a song on a huge artist album, or I don't know. It's not that black and white, but like,
it's complicated. Yeah,
exactly. And it makes it's super unforgiving. And songwriters are definitely like, in terms of how taken care of they are in the industry, they are like the bottom of the totem pole.
Really?
Just in that, like, they have zero protections. There's no, like, because a producer, like, this is the benefit of being a producer who's also a writer. Like, I'm the producer. I get paid as a producer.
From the top.
Yes. Like, you get in advance.
Yeah.
And then if I also was writing on it, I also get publishing as well. But, and producers get publishing as well. Anyway, but
they're doing all that work to try to land something that may not do anything, and they're looking
there's no
advance.
Yeah, exactly.
It's going to end.
Yeah, exactly.
You're the producer. You're going to get paid from the top, and you might get something on the other side if you're a co-writer. But for them, it's like the pressure's on.
Exactly.
So it sounds like kind of a tense environment in some, or maybe it could be.
Totally, yeah. And I really feel for songwriters who are, because it is also just like anything else in the industry. You have to have good music, but having good music is not gonna save you. You know, it's fucked up to say, but just because you're good doesn't mean that you're gonna be successful. Yeah. And that's like a really harsh way to say it, but I say that even to myself. Like, it's not. It's just sheerly. It's not about talent.
Nope.
And that's not to say that you don't have to have any talent. You definitely have to have talent.
Gotta have it.
But just all of the other factors.
The stars have to align.
Yes, the stars have to align, and you do have to work really hard. You have to do all these things, but there's a lot more to it, and it's super unforgiving. And I'll also reiterate, I don't mean to say this as a way to like tell people not to get into songwriting, but the way that it's set up is totally rigged against songwriters for sure.
Yeah. And
I mean, even producers are getting screwed over, but at least they're able to get their advances. I have done very little work for major labels, like producing for artists on major labels, but the experiences that I have had have been me having to send my lawyer to bombard them for months to get paid. Like, they are just not going to pay you if they don't, like, they don't care at all. And no matter how, like, the advance that they owe me is .000 whatever of the money they made that day, so or like, whatever.
They're like, come get me.
Yeah, exactly.
Come get me.
Exactly.
I'm a big dog. Come get me.
So
that.
And that's not just me as like a smaller producer, like big producer. Like it's just wild. It's wild. It's really wild.
It's really
like
a trip, isn't it?
Yeah.
It really, how the industry works and the corporate side of it, and they treat artists and producers and writers kind of disposable.
Totally.
Even if you've had success as well.
Yeah.
You know, it's just kind of like, are you the latest flavor?
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, and it's an especially weird time right now. I mean, it's been an increasingly weird time for the past 10, 15 years, but especially right now because even it feels like the streaming era is over. Even like the streaming in terms of consumers, it's not. But for musicians, being able to exist and thrive via streaming, that's over. Like it's done.
Making a what 0.00007.
Like there was a
penny, you know, or
there was a
whatever.
period where like you could really build a career via streaming.
Yeah.
Like there was a probably 5-year window or whatever there.
You could live off of it.
Where and even if the streaming income itself wasn't what you were living off of, you could use streaming as a way to get you to other incomes off of your music, off of your image. That's gone. And none of the it's such a mess, and all of the conversations I've been having recently with anybody who's like working at the labels or whatever, it's all like nothing's working. They don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
None of them know what's going on.
They never had a clue. They never did. You know, to me it's like they never embraced what was the inevitable. You know, they saw streaming coming, but they ignored it until they couldn't ignore it. And then you get a company that's coming in from the outside. I mean, I don't even know, I'm sure a technology company that owns Spotify, but it's like they're coming in and it's not really built for the artist.
Oh, no.
It's built
absolutely
for
not.
the labels, I think, and maybe some of the publishing companies, but the artists, you know, even if they're writers, like you said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a mess. And now that and TikTok doesn't even really work anymore for converting, and like all of the existing ways that like any of the gatekeeper, whatever, high up label people would tell you, all of the avenues that they had been previously saying, release consistently on Spotify, post on TikTok all the time, all of the do pre-save campaigns, none of those are even converting anymore. Like it's not even, and I'm not even saying this in a bitter way. Like this is just what the game is. Like it's changing.
It is. Yeah.
But it's just wild that like, I mean, this is just how it goes. Like they're going to say, this is how you do it. And then it's going to change before they even get a chance to. So it's like,
by the time you implement it, it's like already onto the new way. And
yeah. So you have to you got to follow your own path. And that sounds really vague, but I think that path is generally just direct to fans, as direct as possible.
That's what it seems like. That's probably where you've had a lot of success, right?
I think so. I feel like I could have. It's always woulda, coulda, shoulda. I feel like I'm trying to redial that in. Like, there's a difference between. So, like, having social media followers, like, there was a period where having a bunch of followers on social media was, like, a relatively direct avenue to reach those people. But because the platforms don't even serve content to your followers, like even if you have a bunch of followers, it's not serving. Like I have 100,000 followers. It's not serving my videos to 100,000 people.
Yeah.
It's serving it to like, it serves it in like little increments. It's like, okay, here's like 200 people. What did they think? Okay, then we'll give it to 400 people. Then it's, so like
it's judging all these algorithms you gotta go through.
So that's how they do it. So you could have a huge group of people that follow you that are like completely unengaged and didn't even know that you've been posting still.
Yeah.
And that's also like, once again, like that's just the game. You have to play, you have to figure it out. But that's something that, one thing that I've been hearing a lot recently is the like text campaign. Like everybody's saying like, do the like texting with your fans, like the, this is not product placement, but like the lay low and community, like those companies that do that. The like super direct to fan stuff where it's going to be like a much smaller pool,
micro niche,
but much more engaged. And I don't even have like, I'm not really doing that. Like I have an Instagram, like broadcast channel where I put like, I don't know, I put like little exclusives in there and just random stuff. And that's like my version of that. But it seems like some version of that is kind of the only way to sustain right now. Also, Discord is huge for
like making your own community, right?
Yes, yeah. But it's just bizarre. Like I totally see the value in that, but every single one of these avenues is a full-time job in and of itself. Like I have
totally.
In the fact that, and once again, like I keep saying this is just the game, you have to figure it out. But it's just wild that any avenue you choose is like, okay, this is your job now. Yeah. Like, okay, you have a Discord, like, all right, well, you better make sure it's still like running every day.
And
like,
be active on it.
Yeah, and you can get moderators and whatever, and you can get help with all of this, but these are all just like spinning plates that you're balancing. And yeah, it's just I think more than anything, the thing that is difficult for me is like I'm down to do the work, clearly. Like I posted a song a day for a year.
I saw that.
And like
song a day challenge, 365 songs.
Yes.
1 year.
Yes. I'm down to do an insane amount of work. But when it stops like actually being clear what
where's it
like
going?
Any benefits are of any particular like amount of work or any direction or any, that's when I'm like, okay, well, what am I doing? Like if the work is not going to actually equal a payoff.
What's the outcome? Yeah.
Yeah. And that sounds kind of bitter, but it is a little bit bitter. Just, I don't know. It's just wild. But once again, it's like, this isn't about how hardworking you are.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Like the song a day thing is more for the story of being the guy who did that than it is. Like people, you have to exist in people's heads as this like box that's like, oh, this is the guy that did the song a day thing. Oh, this is the guy that did the here's an idea, do something with it thing.
Yeah, you have to have a story attached to it.
Yeah, you have to have the story. That's really why I did that. I mean, it was like, there's a million reasons why I did that, but the main one was like just to really like plant the flag as an artist. Like I'm an artist. So like this is like, I'm going to release as much music as possible and not worry about it and just let it flow. And it just snowballed. But having it's like you have to create the story. You have to create this character that people can attach to.
Yeah.
And that wasn't even the main like successful thing. That was just like the beginning. Some of the songs did okay, and that set the tone up, and it also set my like workflow and work ethic up to include social media. But the stuff that actually popped off was the steal this idea, like here's an idea, do something with it videos where I'm just like playing an instrument.
Yeah.
Which is 1,000 times easier than doing the song a day.
and playing a riff or it's the whole song.
It's so much less work.
Yeah.
And it was so much more successful.
Yeah.
And
so people reacted to that more than the actual full-on songs. Because they probably want to know more so, like, because when I think about it, which, by the way, congratulations, because 365 songs in a row. I mean, come on, man. That's no small feat. And, I really wanted to talk to you about it because I think that a lot of people in the audience, sometimes it's like they say, procrastination is like, it's too much. It's like paralysis. It really can, analysis paralysis. It can stop you. And so how do you do that? Like, how do you get into a creative zone where you can knock out a song a day a year?
It's pure grit. It's not, there's a whole creative side to it, of course, but most of it is pure just grit through it. Like
doing it. That's it.
Just ripping the Band-Aid.
I'm putting it out.
Yeah, like I'm doing my best and I want it to be good, but also like I need to do, like there's thousands of people who are going to be like, "Oh, you missed a day, you're done." Like if you don't do it, and there's 1,000 ways I could have, gotten out of continuing, but it really is just more than, like, of course I got way better and way faster and all of the technical things, but it was mostly me learning how to just say fuck it and press post.
Put it up.
Put it out. Yeah, see what happens.
Who cares?
Yes.
We can fix the mix later.
Yes.
If it's not as good as the one I did yesterday or whatever.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, so it was mostly a mental battle more than anything. Yeah.
I find that so cool because I think what so many people need to understand is that if you could do 365 songs, a song a day for a year, then your average artist could easily put out an album a year, maybe 2 albums, an EP, and I'm saying this to myself as well. It's just like, I find that very inspirational because it's like you said, it's the overthinking and as we do as artists and, well, I like it, but I don't know if the mix is right. Well, I probably need to go back and change that guitar. And it's like, no, you're learning to get past your barriers and just put it out and just let it be.
Yeah.
Well, so what was like, what did you learn from that experience?
I learned so much. I mean, the main thing was just, I learned how to still find some form of inspiration and creativity even when I'm going in there with none. Because it was already hard, but once you get to like day 100, you're like, every possible song idea that was maybe bouncing around in your head, that's long gone. Like, you're already used everything.
Yeah.
So it's right now, right here, right now. What did you feel like doing today? That's what I had to talk to myself out loud and be like, fuck it, that's what I felt like doing today. Like, what am I feeling today? Okay, I feel like singing with a guitar in front of a green screen. Today, I feel like sampling Brazilian funk. Like, today, I feel like doing like a stupid rock song about like virginity or something like doing like a meme song.
Yeah.
Or like doing and this one is like super serious and sad and it's about loss. And then this one is just me like joking around. And then this one is like literally whatever comes out, it is what it is. Like, that's what it was. And just learning to be okay with that.
But I think that's so cool. I would think that after doing a full year, that because like you said, after the first 100 days, you're just sitting there thinking, well, man, I've probably talked about everything I can think of. I've probably did as many different arrangements I can think of. But I just think that it would build this muscle of creativity that's just like boundless.
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. Like, it's still, no matter how many songs I make, it's still the same. Like, I'm still overthinking, and I'm still feeling like stuff I make sucks, and I'm still feeling all of that. But now I know what it feels like to push past that.
That's very cool. No, I really I admire that. And like I said, I think if you can do 365, then your average artist could do at least a song a month, or at least something, right?
Yeah, I mean, but I also like on the other side of it, like I understand, like this was the extreme. Like, this isn't artists. Like, art comes when it's supposed to come. Like, you just have to let it. I understand artists taking their time, but I also totally agree. Like, you should be making stuff all the time.
Yeah.
And even if you throw out most of it, whatever.
But it's
better than doing nothing.
State,
yeah.
You know?
Yeah, stay in the flow state for sure. Yeah.
No, that's cool. So when you do your songs, and by the way, you got a lot of really great songs. I like Safe Sides, Sandcastles. I love your version of Cali Dreaming. I thought that was so creative and cool.
Thank you.
Lionel
Yeah.
Messi. But like, what I mean, I imagine after doing that, you have several ways. But what's one of your favorite ways to start a track? You know, you start with the beat, or what do you do?
I need some sort of. I need the beat first. I need it. It doesn't have to even have drums yet, but I need like some sort of musical idea starter so that I can start, I don't know, iterating whatever the melody is, or if it's just me rapping, like whatever the flow is, and getting, like, I kind of need, it's really rare that I have lyric ideas first. And I kind of need like a musical starting point. And that musical starting point changes a lot. Sometimes I'm playing, it's just a piano chord progression. Sometimes it's just guitar. Sometimes it's a drum beat. It's usually not a drum beat, ironically, even though I'm a drummer.
That's funny.
Yeah. Drums are more, I think also because I'm a drummer, and the way that I think about drums, like drums are an accompanying instrument, and they can be like at the forefront of it, but they're an accompanying instrument. I usually think about drums last.
Makes sense.
And also for me, because of the fact that I'm a drummer, like if I start with the drums, I'm thinking about the drums too much.
You stay there. You stay with the drums.
Yeah, it's way harder for me to come up with other ideas to add on to drums than it is for me to add drums to other ideas.
I could see that.
So, yeah. Anyway,
man, that's really cool. No, that's how do you know when a song is done?
I mean, it's never done, but it's usually just it's a feeling. Like you need to, and and in the case of the Song a Day stuff, it was a deadline. Like usually, I don't know how to describe it. I think it's mostly just, as soon as it feels good, pull the plug.
Yeah.
Like as soon as it feels like, or maybe maybe it doesn't even feel good that day, but as soon as it feels like this is a complete like exploration of whatever that initial idea was. Like it can be as simple as or complex. Like that I think comes from understanding of other music.
Yeah.
And like references to other music. Like you have to listen to a lot of music just, I mean, for inspiration in general, but I also think it's really helpful for knowing when a song is done. Like, because there are some songs that are 3 sounds and a vocal.
Yeah.
And there are some songs that are 300 sounds. And both are great. And both are specific to that idea. So the amount of layers or ear candy or whatever is completely, it's specific to the song, but it should serve the one thing. This is a whole other tangent, but artists, a really important part of artistry that's not talked about enough, I feel like, is the decisions that you make should be like grounded in, like, the creative decisions, artistic decisions, everything, like, should be grounded in like almost a philosophy of like, this is the, like, so let's say you're trying to present your music in a certain way. You're trying to be mysterious. You're trying to be, I don't know, you're trying to be a pop star. There are, through your experience of other music and what it means to be a pop star, or what it means to be a mysterious artist, or whatever, or even just more generally, like you're a rapper. What is like society's perception of like being a rapper, and what is your like philosophy to it? Like, are you trying to just like play into exactly what they're expecting on purpose?
Right.
Or are you trying to be like, okay, well, this is what a singer-songwriter is expected to be, so I'm gonna do it this way. I'm gonna record it completely wrong on purpose as a creative choice.
Yeah.
Like, making these decisions that are not based on like what is right to do, or like what is
expected, or
but having the ability to choose when to go with what is expected and when not to.
Yeah.
And that's a artist's whole life journey, but playing with expectations, artistry is just playing with expectations, because there needs to be familiarity. Like, we're all using the same chords and same 12 notes.
Only 12 notes.
And mostly the same instruments. We're all mostly using the same equipment. And we're all mostly like, any outfits or album covers or whatever are usually like references to like Prince or whatever, like previous artists, huge artists. Like, there's always a callback to a previous artist's expression.
For sure.
And that's what it should be, because that's how you got here as an artist. But in the same way that those artists reached those decisions, you have to make those decisions for yourself that can only be made by you.
Right.
And sometimes that means doing something weird or wrong on purpose.
Yeah, for sure.
And I mean, that's something that I'm always sort of grappling with, just because I have a huge interest I love pop music. I love music that's on the radio. And I also love like bizarre, like experimental noise music and stuff, and whatever, ambient, anything, like weird stuff.
You've got a big range.
Legitimately like stuff that would make people uncomfortable. Like, I like that stuff too.
Yeah.
But I also like whatever, like Chapel Roan or what. Like, I love like pop music.
Taylor Swift.
So yeah, there's some. Yeah, I love some Taylor Swift records for sure. Like, and I think that I'm just rambling, but that's a balance that's specific to me.
You have to find your unique place as an artist.
Yeah, exactly. And that's not for everyone. And that's also like, that's a sort of gift and a curse for my situation, is because of the fact that I have been purposefully just like doing whatever I want.
Yeah.
Like some of my songs sound like they could be in sort of pop realm. Some of my songs are like pop melodic rap stuff. Some of my songs are like rock. Some of my songs are like singer-songwriter, guitar guy stuff.
Yeah.
Like all of that is kind of I think it's more of a like artistry is kind of selfish inherently. That's just me being like, I like this. I also like this. I also like this.
I appreciate that, though. I do. I appreciate that. I think that, I mean, listen, you've got your artists in the world, say like a Metallica. That's what they do. They grind it out.
Yeah.
Pretty good at it. They kind of tend to stay there.
Yeah.
Give or take. They switched it up a little bit. But I know, but my favorite artists are the artists that take chances, like a Prince, like you. It's like you're going to do what you want to do, what you feel that day, and you're going to put it together, and you're not going off. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes I listen to artists, and they're great, man. They're fantastic. But you could tell after the third or fourth song, it's like he's figured out a form. He's he's purposely staying with that kind of vocal, with that kind of guitar, and that kind of, because he probably had success with these songs, and so he's trying to duplicate himself. But sometimes I think certain artists, it's like they a little too tight. You know what I'm saying? A little too tight, a little too like, I want to repeat what. Well, no. How about switch it up, man?
Yeah.
Go somewhere else.
Yeah, and I'm very much like I'm kind of I totally see both sides, and I fight myself about this type of thing too, because there is a lot of value in like, or even if it's just like an album is one consistent thing, I think it is really important, and this is something that I actually feel like I haven't figured out, is it's really important for there to be a discernible like artistic vision that connects all of it. And I think there is that to an extent, and I do think that there are people who do understand what I'm doing in terms of like trying different genres and doing stuff like that. But I think it would probably be way easier if I was just like, okay, this is a project of this, and this is a project of this, and this is, and
very compartmentalized.
Yeah, and
I know what you mean, though.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. And there's everything is singles now anyway, and everything is, genres are long gone and whatever, like everything bleeds together.
Which I like.
Yeah, totally.
It used to be you were this or you were that, but like now it's like I like how it's all together.
Yeah.
More so.
So it's a, I feel like I, for my own creativity, need to just do a bunch of random stuff whenever I feel like it. But I feel like for my music career, there has to be like a honing in. Yeah. That's just what it is. Like that's me like self-criticizing.
Yeah.
But
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. I mean, there's and I mean, you've seen it too. I mean, it's like you see certain artists, even they switch up the sounds and the vibes from song to song, but the vocal,
have you
noticed? They
but that's a good
It's consistent.
that is a good way to keep people on board as things transition.
Yeah.
And also maybe that's just how
That's they
that's
write and
where they
sing.
were at.
Like take for example, Billie Eilish. Love her stuff.
Yeah.
Love it. She can go from this ballad, sweet stuff that's almost, some of it's like, man, it's kind of like 70s folky, and then she goes into this, I'm a bad guy thing, or some of the other stuff more edgy.
Yeah.
But the vocal, she might have a couple different flavors, but she kind of stays.
Yes.
And it's actually great because the writing is just so good.
Incredible, yeah.
It's just Phineas, man.
Yeah.
Together, they make such a perfect team. They're like the modern day Carpenters, but it's just like she stays in these ranges. There's a lot of it's kind of whispery, soft, beautiful voice.
Yeah.
But the songwriting, it's got ebbs and flows, and the sounds change ebbs and flows. But her vocal usually stays quiet, very pretty tone, and it's in this really killer range, which she's mapped out for herself. It's uniquely hers. Especially when she first came out, she had all those like stacked harmonies. But it's like you said, it's like the audience is expecting, this is what they're expecting, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, that is an amazing example of she has evolved as an artist tremendously, but there's still a very clear, this is her voice throughout.
Common thread.
And it's really good music.
It's awesome.
So yeah, I mean, but not everybody can pull that off. That is, I think, especially because of Phineas, not just because of his skill, he is very skilled, but because of the relationship that they have as like, because many artists, it's just one song with one producer, one song with another, like whatever. There's 10 different producers on a project, which is great. You can still have great music, and you can be the through line. But just taking Billie Eilish and Phineas as an example, like because they have been able to carve out their workflow so much, and their influences so much, like they are locked in, like they know exactly what they're doing, and it's really impressive.
It's super cool. Yeah. So tell me about Steal This series, where I thought that was so cool, where I guess it's like you take parts of your song production and make loops of it and have people make their own music.
Yeah.
Yeah, how'd that work out? That sounds like such an interesting idea.
Yeah, I just randomly did that one day. I just posted a video playing a little synth line, and then it went viral, and I was like, all right, I guess I gotta do this. And then that is really what those videos are why I initially got all these followers. And it's great. It was just, it snowballed into tens of thousands of people using them using these loops that I made like in their own ways, and bigger artists using them, and it was insane. Yeah. No,
very, very unique and a unique way to get in touch with the audience. And then like, tell me about performing live, because I've seen your live performances on YouTube, and it's really great. I mean, what's your take on performing live versus recording? You use two different worlds, the same?
I mean, it's a different thing. At least for me, like I am in the way that I was talking about. In the studio, I'm pretty much just doing whatever I feel like doing, unless it's for a specific project. But if it's for my stuff, I'm just sitting down doing whatever I want. Performances are like, you got to give the people what they want. You have to be entertaining. And if you aren't able to, like, you have to translate what it, because it's not just like the songs playing. Like, you need to actually be entertaining.
Yeah.
And this is something like once again, like being self-critical, like I feel like I'm still like figuring out properly like what is the live show, because I'm producing all this stuff, I'm playing all these instruments and whatever, but it doesn't quite make sense for me to be like, I don't know, have a full band and stuff, because it's still like mostly it's like hip hop tracks and stuff, and like I don't know, I'm still figuring it out. But that's also led me to, so I've been a DJ since I was 14. Like, I was DJing clubs in New York and stuff.
Good at it, man. Like, I've seen you with your sets.
Yeah.
You make like a theme, like all songs have to have freak or.
Oh yeah, I just did that one. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. That was just for fun, and that's also in the interest of what I'm about to say is like, I feel like for the way that when we were talking about like, oh, people have to understand you in a certain way and like tell the story, I feel like people probably will understand me as an artist better through like, this is a DJ who's doing other stuff.
Yeah.
As opposed to like, right now it's like, okay, this is a social media guy who's just like doing a bunch of random music things. Like, it's all music related. This is a music person, but like, there's some songs, there's some like random videos that are unrelated. Like, what is he doing? Like, what is, like, my next year or so is, I think, more going to be like DJ sets that also like, you know, I could get on the mic or bring out an instrument or whatever.
I could see that.
It's a party.
I could see that.
Yeah.
No, I it's funny you say that, because I picked it up from your videos and I was like, no. I mean, I saw you play with the band too, which I thought flowed very well. You know, you had a band, like a 3 or 4 piece band, but I also could totally see you DJing.
Yeah.
And then making a show out of it where you know, you hit the beat, you bust out the guitar or whatever, you just start rapping, but you could have this like hybrid thing.
Yeah, that's really, because also that is much more fun for me than, like, I love performing, but I have way more fun DJing, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, I just like, and I don't know, it's like having, being in a situation, being in like a cramped room packed with people, and I'm responsible for playing all the tracks, like, that is the most fun thing for me. And I think that also, going back to just like these deliberate decisions, like, I think for a little while I was thinking, because of the fact that, I can play all of these instruments, I could do this one-man band thing where I'm playing 10 different instruments on whatever. I could do that, but that's not, I don't think that's really me. I think that's more like me in the studio.
Yeah.
But I think my live show is more like, let's have a party. Like, let's just have,
And some of it can be, you know, DJing, and some of it can be track of you performing live with it. And you could, there's just so many ways that you could do it. But you're a dynamic performer. You know how to perform for sure. So that's very interesting. And I think that's really so much where I think it's going in some respects.
Mm-hmm.
For solo artists or artists that, like you play multiple instruments, you know, it's I'm seeing more of that, and it's just so cool. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like this DJ thing, but you can play instruments with it.
Yeah.
I think it's very powerful. So tell me, like, what's next on the horizon for you?
Well, I've got Cali Dreamin' out now. Cali Dreamin' by Connor Musarra out now.
Yes.
And I have a lot of music sitting, and I don't know if, I Cali Dreamin', and I have a series of remixes in sort of the same vein, the remixes and covers after Cali Dreamin' that are coming as well.
Man, I'm impressed. I really like your style. you can flow, but you're melodic at the same time, and it's unique.
Thank you.
It's unique, and it's really cool. I mean, the songs really popped out. I started listening to a couple songs and just kind of kept going. I was like, man, I don't hear a song I don't like yet. And I'm just super inspired. Like I said, I even saw your YouTube video where you spliced all the songs together, and I was like, this is absolute madness, but yet inspiring.
Very the Song a Day one? Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like
I posted
the whole thing together in one thread. I was like, dude, that's crazy. But awesome. And such a lesson, I think, to the rest of us that we need to get up and do something, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, let the world hear it and see what happens, and most importantly, like, you have to do it so that you can sleep at night. Like, you got to get it out. Like, if you have this creative drive and you're not letting it out, that is going to affect your whole life. And your feelings about yourself, and that's why I did the Song a Day too, is like getting it out.
So true.
Yeah.
So I could not agree with you more. When an artist, whatever creative medium they do, whether it be drawing or photography or music or acting or whatever, writing a screenplay, when you don't get that out of you, I think it does something to you, doesn't it? It's like it's pulling you back. Something is not right.
Yeah, exactly.
So I really commend you for that, and so much I've learned from that. Tell us where we can find you.
It's just Connor Musarra on all platforms. ConnorMusarra. That's it.
Awesome, man. It was an honor and a privilege, Connor, man. I appreciate it.
Appreciate you. Thank you. Hell yeah.
Man.
Yeah, thanks.